Hey everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to get some flyover footage without having to use a drone. Now this is a technique that used to be used in the old days before drones came out and Google Earth was out, and Google Earth Pro used to cost $400, but it's completely free now, and Google allows you to do this. They have a movie maker component inside of Google Earth which allows you to fly over stuff, pan, spin around, do all kinds of things, and then you can output that as an MP4 or something else. To give you an idea what I'm talking about, here are some examples. Now, as you can see from that, there's some limitations that if you were to have a drone doing that, well, you could maybe get some newer footage, you might be able to fly in a little bit closer, but you can't also fly in from about 5 miles up above the Earth and also about possibly 100 miles out or 200 miles away from your location and eventually get there. So there's a lot of stuff you can do though with it. This is going to be a two-part tutorial. In this first part, I'm going to show you how to use Google Earth to be able to get this footage. In the second tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take that footage and put it together in Photoshop. Now you don't need to do that necessarily. You can output directly from Google Earth an MP4, and you could use that then in your Tour Buzz videos as just a lead-in video. This has been somewhat of a hit here in my area, as realtors like to have some extra footage for some of their houses. It actually shows that this is how you fly into a community that has been there for a while. Sometimes you just can't replace a drone, but sometimes a drone can't fly every place. And I've shown other drone-free alternatives also. For instance, on that video where I showed how to use that Manfrotto 24-footer, drones have their place, there's no doubt about it. I'm not going to say that anything replaces it. This is just another tool in your toolbox for your photographic techniques doing real estate photography. Ready to see how it's done? Let's take a look. So this is Google Earth Pro. When you get it, you might be tempted to actually go to a full size of it, but for the best quality, you're probably not going to want to do that. They've actually got a view size. Go to view, and then they've got these different sizes, and I'm going to be using 1920 by 1080. I'm going to show the full screen though on this, so in case any pop-ups come on, you'll see everything that I'm doing here. So a couple things here to be aware of. On the bottom left, under layers, make sure that 3D buildings is checked, and so is terrain. The rest of these will take up processing power. Weather shows some nice clouds, but it's really not going to be efficient for what we're going to be doing, and the rendering time will be slower. Also, under the tools and your options, make sure that you have these settings, that you've got true color to 32, compress, anisotropic filtering is high. The rest of this is pretty much defaults by Google, including some of the other tabs here, which they've got a lot more information on that, and I won't get into every detail about using their application. So what we want to do is use the Movie Maker, and it's under Tools and then Movie Maker, which will allow you to record any type of video, okay? But what we're going to first do is we're going to set up where we want to fly into, and we're going to set up a path. And it looks like Windows Defender is showing me some stuff here. Ignore that. So what I'm going to do is set up a folder and have those places. I did it once before using Staples Center, but I'm going to go ahead and click on My Places, right-click, Add a Folder. And let's call this Tutorial. Okay. Now, what I want to do is go into the Staples Center, but I want to start out looking at, let's say, Southern California. So I'm going to use some of these controls up here, and there's keyboard shortcuts too that you can use, which by the way, Google's got this online. Here's a URL for it, and it does make it simpler. I'm going to refer to a few of these as I get into some of the other videos. If you want to pause this and get the URL, feel free to do so. But anyways, let's zoom into Southern California, and zooming in there. You can move it around with the mouse. There's Southern California. but I don't like the 2D view from space. So I'm going to click inside this view area, which you have to, by the way, before using keyboard shortcuts. If you're out here navigating and you've clicked in here, then the keyboard shortcuts are going to think that you're there. So you got to make sure that you've clicked once inside this area, the view area. So I'm going to use Shift arrow down, and that's going to tilt the Earth. So I like that. I'm also going to spin it around a bit so we're not just looking up the coast of Baja. Spin the other way, we'll go this way. So that's looking pretty good, right about there. Okay, then I can zoom in more using keyboard shortcuts or whatever. I can move this around and get to where I like a good view of Southern California. And so we'll spin that around. Something like about that. Let's just say that that's good. Okay, so let's say that that's our starting point. Okay, so what I'll do is just right click, add a place mark. I'm going to call this place mark start. And you see it's got this flashing yellow stuff over here. Just go to Style and Color and set opacity to 0% for both the label and the icon. And then you're done. Next, we want to find the Staples Center. Now you can put in any address for any property. Here I'm going to start typing Staples Center, and it shows the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Hit a search for that, and then Google Earth will then take you into the Staples Center. That's going to have these labels. We're going to get rid of them. We're not going to use much out of this. It's just going to find where we are. There's the Staples Center. So to get rid of that, under the search, click the little X. Done. Okay. Now I want to be able to tilt that a little bit. So I'm going to use Shift and arrow down. The buildings are in the way, so I use Shift, and I'm going to spin that around like there. I like that. And let's then say that is our destination. So I'm going to make another place mark, go to Tutorial, Add, Place Mark, Destination. Okay, you can name it whatever you like. Now let's test that out. If I go to Start, and it zooms all the way out like that. Okay. Now if I go to Destination, what happens? It wants to fly me over. And this is very typical of Google Earth when you're zooming very far out. Okay, and it drops me down. So I want to do a final approach so I actually fly over some of the buildings. So I'm going to zoom out, click in here, hitting the minus sign to zoom out. Once I get zoomed out far enough and I put in a tilt that I like, then I'm going to go ahead and call that my final approach. So I'm going to put that in right about like that, tilt the Earth down just a little bit with that Shift down arrow. There we go. Add another place mark, add place mark, and go final approach. Okay. Now I can test it all out. I can go up here to Start, then I can click on the final approach and then destination, which by the way you can also organize these in your folders like you would anything else. So just drag it up there. So let's go into final approach. That looks pretty good. Okay, then I'll go ahead as it's slowing down, go to destination, and it zooms me in then on the Staples Center. So that's why I like it. Okay, that's good. So let's make a movie from it. Go back out here to where we're going to start. I'm going to go up here to Tools and to Movie Maker. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and set my frame rate to 60, 1920 by 1080 for the picture size. I'm going to output this as a ASF. You can do a MP4 if you want. And I'm also going to do maximum picture quality. So I'm just going to name it something here. And you can save this whatever file, wherever you'd like to save it. Once you create the movie, you have a little box down here that you can then say stop recording when you're done. And I'm going to go ahead and then go to my Start. I'm there. Go to Final Approach. It's recording now, and it's rendering actually in the background, so it's not doing a screen capture. What you're seeing that's jittery right now is because the screen capture software that's doing this tutorial is also robbing some rendering power out of the graphics card. Okay, so it's getting in close, and once it is, and I double click on my destination, and it starts bringing me in then on my final destination to get me into the Staples Center. All right, so once it gets into the Staples Center, all that I have to do then is then just click stop recording, and I've got this then flyover video of getting into the Staples Center. So let's just say stop recording. Boop. That's good. Now, I can do another one. I can, for instance, I'll click in here, and I'll do a Shift arrow up, get myself nice and flat, Shift arrows till I spin this around, and then I can put this guy, for instance, up at the top, get him the letters lined up a little bit more, right? Center him, and then I can start another movie for this flyover. Now this doesn't use any place marks. I'm just going to go Movie Maker, Create Movie. Nope, I don't want to do that. Tools, Movie Maker. I'm just giving it another file name. I was just complaining about that. Okay, so I'll create the movie. Now if I hold down the Alt key, it slows down the progression. So if I do Alt and arrow up, I get a nice smooth transition. Now it looks jittery on the screen capture, but the final movie won't be as jittery. Remember, it's rendering in the background. You also want to make sure that you have Photoshop closed, Lightroom closed, everything closed so you have the most processing power available on your computer. Then once you're done, you can stop recording. So a lot of other videos you can do like that. For instance, take this guy, let's go ahead and do a shift down, and then we can spin him around. So I could start another video, and I could do something like this and fly around, fly around. I could zoom out and show a whole bunch of the city. I can then, once again do a shift in my arrow key. If I want it to be smoother, I hold down Shift Alt, and I get a nice, finer, smooth pan on that. And then of course, then if I want to do a zoom out, I would go to my destination, which I can just click that and it's going to spin me around and drop me back down to where I started from. And then I could start another movie, and then I could zoom out to Final Approach. So that zooms me out over top of the freeways, and then eventually click on then my start, which then takes me really far out over top of the ocean over Southern California. So after you get all that footage together, if you put it together in Photoshop, you can have something that looks like this. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show how to put all that together. Now you can just output, once again, MP4s, put those directly into Tour/Buzz, but if you want to have something with a lot more pizzazz, I'm going to show you that in the next tutorial. If you want to see that next tutorial and be notified when it's ready, as well as other videos on this YouTube channel, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It won't cost you anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.